and you're seeing farmers who, depending on what region they're in, actually having a lot of options in terms of what they can do with their land.
From an agriculture point of view, what are the bigger issues or challenges the state of Queensland is facing? And then we can talk broadly about Australia, but if you can be specific to Queensland in terms of bigger challenges from an ag point of view.
Yeah, I think agriculture is interesting. People see ag as a sector and don't think about the nuances.
Mm-hmm.
But at the Queensland Farmers Federation, we represent peak bodies, so the different commodity groups.
Mm-hmm.
And over the years that I've been with the organisation, it's been great because I've got to know each commodity group, really well.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some differences. There's a lot of things that are the same, but the agriculture sector is actually quite complex.
Mm-hmm.
And there are differences, depending on if you're in intensive production or grazing production, whether you're a cotton farmer or if you're a horticulture production farmer, there are nuances. But I would say more broadly, the terms of trade, cost of production has increased, on average between 50 and 60% across most farms in Queensland post-COVID. And certainly for a sector like horticulture, which is, traditionally getting the same price for their produce from the supermarkets and their markets, as they were 9 or 10 years ago, that terms of trade and the margins really start to squeeze. We've also, seen workforce shortages, which we are still challenged by. And if you listen to a lot of the demographers, that challenge is likely to stay for at least another 10, 15 years. So again, for those parts of agriculture that are heavily reliant on workforce, and again, horticulture is a great example. So they're heavily reliant on large numbers of workers, particularly during certain parts of their season. That's really started to impact as well. But we are also seeing in Queensland an interesting situation evolve in that demand for land in Queensland's really increasing. Some of the southern states have already experienced this, but this is really ramping up for us in Queensland. So we're seeing changing land use across the state, and you're seeing farmers who, depending on what region they're in, actually having a lot of options in terms of what they can do with their land. We're seeing all the way up the eastern seaboard of Queensland, a lot of farms, typically cane farms, horticulture farms, dairy farms in some instances being gobbled up and turned into suburbs. So yes, it does point to something as consumers we all should be alive to, because we've been quite lucky in Australia in relation to food security, but I think with the demand for land as it is and other factors, I think we really need to start valuing that from our perspective, but also for the future generations. But for Queensland, the other thing that has been impacting a lot in recent years are weather events. So Queensland is Australia's most impacted state when it comes to extreme weather events. So in the last little while, we have been seeing, particularly some regions, really impacted by severe storm seasons, flooding episodes, year on year. So we're seeing some farming enterprises really suffer from that cumulative impact where, sort of every summer you're impacted by a significant weather event. So, that's been challenging as well. So lots of challenges, but lots of opportunities for Queensland and Australian agriculture as well. We have such a strong reputation. I think ABARES released a report a couple of years ago around Australian farmers and how we rank in terms of ESG credentials globally, and we are right up there. It's something we should be really proud of. So, the world really wants our product. So demand for our product remains strong. So there's, a lot of opportunity as well.